everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the show. Hope you guys have saved some room in that gas tank because it's time to go one more round with Rob. Hey guys, again, I'm sorry I didn't get an episode out last week. This summer I've really been focusing on spending some more time with my daughter that I didn't get to do during the school year when I'm working as an active athletic trainer. So sorry about that, guys. Just kind of slipped my memory there. So what I'll do though is, again, I'm going to give you guys this one will actually be 3 fights from 3 different cards, all of the main events. So I'm going to cover the main event from both UFC Fight Night cards that I didn't hit for you guys. So that'll be the Corey Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw main event, as well as the Uriah Hall versus Sean Strickland main event from this past Saturday. And I'm also going to give you guys Bellator 263's main event, Patricio Pitbull versus AJ McKee for the Bellator Featherweight World Grand Prix title, as well as the Bellator World Featherweight Championship. So that one is kind of an all the marbles bout there. So we'll get to that one as well. Let's kick it off. We're going to kind of go in order here. Obviously, the Uriah Hall, Sean Strickland, and the Patricio Pitbull, AJ McKee fight happened on the same night. So I'm going to go with the UFC Fight Nights first, and then I'll hit the Bellator one at the end there. So kicking it off, Corey Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw. Obviously, I think by now you guys know TJ Dillashaw has won by split decision. The cards were 48-47, 48-47. Two 48-47 cards for Dillashaw, one 48-47 card for Sandhagen. Guys, this fight overall was just great. It was fantastic. It was good to see TJ Dillashaw back in there, and almost like he didn't miss a beat there. It was a good fight. It was a good fight for him. I don't want to say a great fight for him, but it was a good fight for him. And it was a really good fight for Corey Sandhagen as well. I mean, guys, it was back and forth the entire fight. Now, for disclosure, I scored the fight 3 rounds to 2, so a 48-47 for TJ Dillashaw. I gave TJ rounds 1, 3, and 4. I gave Corey rounds 2 and 5. Now, I was not opposed to Corey Sandhagen getting the nod either. There were some rounds there where it took me, most of the break in between the round for me to say, hey, I think this guy should get the round. I think this guy should get the nod. There were rounds where it took me a good portion of the round to figure that out. A portion of the good portion of the break in between the rounds to figure that out. Overall, I thought it was a great fight. What got it for me, guys, is TJ Dillashaw's control up against the cage consistently. It was consistent. Like when he kind of got in a bad way, boom, you could count on him doing some type of shot and getting Corey Sandhagen up against the cage. Now, if you look at his takedown numbers, his takedown attempt and takedown success rate numbers are not going to be the greatest because they didn't count those as takedowns, as they shouldn't. They shouldn't count as takedowns. But I do think it's important to say, hey, he got considerable control over him on the cage. Didn't really allow Corey to do effective striking as well as he could have. So I think that's where TJ got the nod in a couple of the rounds from me, or maybe in 2 of the rounds. I thought round 1 definitely he won. He had Corey hurt once or twice in that round, if I remember. So it was. I thought that one was, to me, I thought it was pretty clear. Now, if I go back and rewatch it, I may have a different opinion. But watching it initially, I was like, oh, yeah, I think TJ got that round. Now, here's something important to note as well. Corey got a good couple of leg lock attempts in there in round 1, especially right there at the end. And there was one where he cranked. And in between rounds 1 and 2, TJ went to his corner and he was like, hey, man, I think I heard a pop in my left knee. We now know that was actually his LCL and his meniscus tearing. He tore his LCL completely. It was a complete tear right in the middle, pop. Most likely he will probably have surgery on that to get it fixed if he hasn't already. I believe he did shortly after the fight. Those are kind of situations where doctors like to get in there either right before. They like to get in there right away before the swelling sets in, or they like to wait a week or two until the swelling goes down, so they have a little more room to work. They don't have to try to fight through all the swelling and everything like that. And then the medial meniscus, it was a bucket handle tear, which is essentially where the meniscus folds back on itself. So, he, like I said, he's most likely going to have surgery for those if he hasn't already. And, he'll do the recovery and he'll get back. Round 2, because of that, TJ definitely did not seem to be moving as well on that leg. I know I was watching the fight and I was watching it live, and I sat there, and as soon as he came out, and I was like, that leg doesn't look too hot. It was literally right as the round started. He came out, and it wasn't like he came out in round 1. He wasn't moving the same way that he did, kind of in that classic TJ manner now that we've come to know. So, it was definitely something that I was keeping an eye on, and Sandhagen was as well. He was targeting that leg with calf kicks almost all night. So it was definitely something that was on Sandhagen's mind, and I think everybody's mind, when they heard TJ say, "Hey, I think I felt a pop in my knee." So, but first of all, hats off to TJ finishing the fight with a torn LCL and a torn meniscus, and going through another 20 minutes of competition with Corey Sandhagen, who is absolutely no slouch at all, guys. He was one bad submission away to fighting Petr Yan for the title instead of Aljamain Sterling. Instead of Aljamain Sterling getting the shot. That is, guys. So he's no slouch. Great competition. Round 2, TJ also got a pretty gnarly cut above his right eye that Corey opened up on him, and it was definitely a good cut. But I was also not concerned about the fight being stopped unless it got bigger, guys. And the reason I say it is because, when Herb Dean stopped the action in round 2 to have the doctor come in and look at it, all the blood was kind of running down the crook of his nose, just past his eye and down his cheek. It wasn't running into his eye. So unless it got bigger, which I'm sure it did actually get a little bit bigger throughout the fight, continuous trauma to it. But it was a pretty gnarly cut, but I didn't think it was going to be anything to stop the fight. I even said that too when I saw it, when Herb stopped the bout to bring the doctor in, and the doctor was looking at it. I was sitting there on my couch yelling at the TV. I was like, don't stop this fight. It's not getting in his eye. It's not going to be an issue whatsoever right now. Now, if it had gotten worse later on, I probably would have said, hey, we need to stop this bout, it's fighter safety and everything. But that didn't happen. TJ, I think, used that to be like, hey, we got to get in close, and we got to make sure he doesn't keep hitting me. Otherwise, this guy is going to keep making this worse. And that's kind of how the rest of the fight really went. It was, you got TJ kind of holding him up against the cage for quite a while there. Or not quite a while, but he was able to get him quite a few times up against the cage and hold him there. And I think that to me is what got TJ the bout for me. That's what made me give him the nod in those rounds 3 and 4. I thought TJ obviously got round 1. I think Corey obviously got round 2, and I think Corey obviously got round 5. So really the 2 rounds that I was kind of iffy on were those rounds 3 and 4. And ultimately I went back and said, hey, Corey really didn't get as much off on the striking. TJ had more control of him on the cage, and that's why I gave him the nod. If I go back and rewatch the fight, I may have a different opinion, but that was my live kind of on the couch scoring, guys. I'm not saying it's the end-all be-all or what would be my final opinion forever. But like I said, TJ throughout the fight had the back control up against the cage, got him down a couple times. He was able to hold him up against the cage. TJ, especially through the last 3 rounds, was able to land some good leg kicks as well that kind of hindered Corey's movement. So it was a great fight. Like I said, guys, split decision win for TJ. Very close split decision win as well, guys. TJ, after the fight, gets on the mic, says, hey, I want a title shot. Whoever wins the Aljamain Sterling, Petr Yan fight. or if or if they end up having a kind of drawn out battle in October when they're scheduled, and if Aljamain and Piotr have a drawn out battle in October when they're scheduled to fight, TJ wanted another top 5 guy. So I think TJ and Corey should both see another top 5 guy. To me, in my mind, I don't want to see TJ jump right back into a title shot, especially if it's Piotr Jan, because could TJ beat Piotr Jan? Yeah, absolutely. I don't know the likelihood of it, though. I think that fight would be a kind of a close bout like we saw with TJ taking on Corey here. So what I kind of thought of, I looked at the rankings. Obviously, I think this was before anything changed, so I don't know if the rankings have changed since, guys. But my initial thought when I looked at the rankings immediately after the fight was TJ take on Rob Font, because he was the number 3 guy. Corey take on Jose Aldo, who was the number 4 guy. I think Jose Aldo has an opponent, though, so that may not work. But that was my initial thought, and actually I believe Jose does have an opponent, so Corey would probably have to fight somebody just outside of the top 5, which I don't think is a bad thing either. The bantamweight division right now has guys that are just coming up and coming out. Corey could go and fight Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt wants another fight with TJ, but TJ beat him twice, but they're saying that could have been EPO TJ. We'll see what happens, guys. Like I said, that was my initial thought. I forgot Jose had the fight, so maybe Corey takes on Cody first. Who knows? If TJ gets the title shot, if TJ wins that next fight, so if let's say they match him up with Rob Font and he wins that fight, I think a title fight is next for TJ. Or if he does get that title shot right after this and he wins, he'll be only the second fighter in UFC history to hold an undisputed title in the same weight class 3 times. The other man was Randy Couture. At light heavyweight, he was the first to do it. And like I said before, I don't know if Piotr gets past Aljo. I don't know if that's the easiest title fight for TJ to have. Time will tell, though, guys. On to the next UFC Fight Night main event. Number 8 middleweight in the world, Uriah Hall, versus number 11 middleweight in the world, Sean Strickland. At this point, guys, I think you guys have probably heard or seen on ESPN. If you haven't, spoiler alert. Don't watch, kind of skip through probably about the next 10 or 12 minutes here. Sean Strickland wins by unanimous decision. 50-44, 50-45, and 49-46 were the 3 scorecards. Guys, this was Strickland's fight, point blank. I don't know how else to put this for you guys. I don't understand how... Let me stop for a second. Take a deep breath. I scored all 5 rounds for Sean Strickland. I think I scored all of them 10-9. I would have to go back and look. Maybe one of the rounds there, I was like, oof, that's a 10-8 for Strickland. Obviously, one judge scored it all 5 rounds for Strickland, one of them being a 10-8 round because he had the 50-44. One judge scored it all 10-9 rounds for Strickland with the 50-45. One judge scored it 4 rounds to 1 for Strickland on the 49-46 card. I didn't think that Uriah Hall won a single round in that fight. I didn't. So round 1 was virtually all Strickland. Uriah just didn't get off well. He did not get started well. He didn't really do much of anything in that first round. He threw one leg kick until the 5th round. And that one leg kick was a calf kick in round 1. He didn't use his skill set, guys. What Uriah Hall did was allow Sean Strickland to control the pace and pressure of the fight, and he allowed Sean Strickland to make this essentially a boxing match in a cage with 4-ounce gloves. That's all he did. I don't mean to make this sound harsh on Uriah at all. He's a great fighter. You know, he's beaten some of the best. You know, he beat Anderson Silva. You know, had that weird fight with Oh shoot, Chris Weidman. Sorry guys, had a minor lapse in thought there, where Chris threw the first strike of the fight was a leg kick and snapped his leg around Uriah Hall's leg. So I mean, Uriah's been in there with some of the best guys. He's been in there. He's gotten the wins. He's had some setbacks, and this was definitely a setback for him, guys. Like I said, round one was virtually all Strickland. Round two, Strickland started much as he did in round one. But as the round went on, we started seeing Uriah beginning to use more of his skill set that we didn't see in round one. And he, started to get stronger as the round went on. So maybe that was the round that the one judge gave him. But I still thought Strickland did enough throughout that round to get the nod for the round. Round three, Strickland about halfway through the round landed a good overhand right behind Uriah's left ear, and then got a very easy takedown. And honestly, guys, from watching the replay of the overhand right and then the takedown and looking at Uriah Hall's facial composure and his overall composure and how easily that takedown came for Strickland, who's not necessarily known for his takedowns, I thought Uriah Hall could have been briefly out. Like I thought he could have been, and I think if Strickland hadn't held him up, Uriah may have fallen. But obviously that's speculation because I'm not either man, and Strickland got the takedown and didn't let Uriah fall. So I mean, from what I've seen of martial arts competitions for guys almost my entire life and being in the healthcare field, it looked like Uriah Hall was out for a second there. Round four was more of the same. Uriah is landing at times. Strickland controls the overall pace. Round five, Uriah started to get going. Like I said, he started making it more competitive. But I thought ultimately Strickland again controlled the pace and pressure of the round, and he he held up some control up against the cage. It was just an unfortunate bout for Uriah here. I thought that if he had won this fight, so Uriah came in and he said, if I win this fight, I'm going to get a title shot. He was pretty confident about that. Me personally, I think if he won this fight, I would have seen him take on another top 5 or 6 guy and then get a title shot. Or if he had won impressively over Strickland, like if he had gone in there and it was, a 45 second to, if it was like a half a round knockout win for Uriah, I thought he could have gotten a title shot off of that. But if given the decision, if it had gone to decision and Uriah had gotten the nod, I think a top 5 or top 6 guy after Strickland would have been appropriate. This is unfortunate for Uriah because he's 37 years old, and I understand that the middleweight division right now is not the strongest division that the UFC has, but it's hard for me to see Uriah getting a title shot at this point. I mean, time will tell on that. I could be completely wrong. He could turn around, rack off 3 wins, and in early 2023 get a title shot for whoever's the title holder at that time. I don't know, guys. We'll see. Maybe Sean Strickland will win the title. Who knows? That's the fight game, guys. I don't think that's gonna happen. Strickland didn't seem to have any care in the world about ever getting a title shot. That man just wants to fight. Michael Bisping said that he was a lunatic, but before the fight started, and as the fight went on, I was like, yeah, this guy's got a screw true loose. But he's an entertaining fighter. Strickland performed incredibly well for his first main event, guys. Incredibly well. He was the number 11 guy. I think he should definitely crack the top 10. I think the rankings come out Tuesday. Today, I'm recording this on Monday, so the ranking should have, or I guess yesterday. This is going to be released on Wednesday, so the ranking should have come out yesterday. I'd be surprised if I don't see Strickland in the top 10 after this. I'm excited to see who this guy fights next. You know, it had been a while since I'd seen him in the cage. I'm excited to see him go again. I don't want to see him take on a top 5 guy just yet. Maybe another 8 to 10 guy, depending on where he gets ranked. Maybe 6 or 7 as well. If he gets ranked in that like 8 slot, if he gets ranked in that number 8 slot, maybe he takes on a 6 or 7 guy. But yeah, I'm excited to see him back in there, kind of regardless of who he fights. Now, guys, on to kind of the biggest fight from the last 3 weeks, in my opinion, is on the MMA side of things. Patricio Pitbull versus AJ McKee. The Bellator Featherweight World Grand Prix Finals. The Bellator World Featherweight Championship. And $1 million on the line for this fight, guys. So 3 things on the fight. The Bellator World Bellator Featherweight World Grand Prix Championship, the Bellator World Featherweight Championship, and $1 million all on the line. I think the $1 million is on top of their purse too. So, woo, what a payday for the guy that gets this. Which, again, guys, by now I'm sure you've seen ESPN or the Bellator updates or whatever. AJ McKee gets the submission win at 1:57 of round 1. He is the new Bellator Featherweight World Grand Prix and Bellator World Featherweight champion, and he took home $1 million. Guys, this fight was it was interesting. It was very interesting. I did not see this coming. Great job by McKee, first of all. You know, he did what he had to do. So neither guy was really. They were very cautious to open up the round. The first minute and a half, both guys were very cautious. I think the biggest thing that was done in the first minute and a half was McKee was throwing lead leg side kicks to the lead leg of Pitbull. And I think that was the biggest thing that was done in the first minute and a half. Now, right after that minute and a half, AJ McKee lands a head kick, stuns Pitbull, jumps in, lands a flurry of punches. I believe it was a right uppercut that dropped Pitbull. McKee thinks it's over. He kind of takes a step back. Mike Beltran, who is the referee, who is a phenomenal referee, guys, tells him, he's like, hey, man, it's not over. So McKee jumps back in, cranks in he lands a knee first, cranks in a guillotine then, and just cranks it on Pitbull until Pitbull goes out. Now, Mike Beltran jumps in, stops the fight. Now, Mike Beltran stopped it almost immediately after Pitbull went out, so that was a fantastic job. I mean, he was, as soon as Pitbull got dropped there, Mike Beltran was kind of like almost glued to him. It was like AJ, Pitbull. It was like AJ, Pitbull. Mike Beltran was like right here, guys. He was like right on him. It was a great job by Mike Beltran for not letting that choke be held while Pitbull was unconscious for any longer than it absolutely had to be. As soon as he saw Pitbull's arm go limp, it was like he jumped in. He said, "Stop, stop, 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 stop," which is, AJ let it go. Pitbull comes back almost immediately because, like I said, I think he had literally just gone out. He was out for maybe 2 seconds before Mike Beltran stepped in and pulled AJ off of him. And this was a standing guillotine, guys. This wasn't like AJ pulled guard or anything. He is standing up against the cage and cranks this thing and chokes this man unconscious. Like I said, I did not see this coming. I caught the replay of it the next day because it was way past my bedtime, guys. I'm way past my bedtime. We put the baby to bed, and I was like, I'm going to bed too. Way past my bedtime to see this fight, guys. So I caught the replay the next day, and I was like, this is going to be... I was kind of watching to the time of like, okay, this is when the fight's starting. This is where they're saying the program is ending. There's not a lot of time. Pitbull probably gets this one done quick. And I was wrong. AJ got it done quick. And I didn't... That was not a thought of any disrespect towards AJ. I just thought if it was going to be a quick fight, it was going to be Pitbull that maybe caught AJ and closed the show that way. No, it was AJ that caught Pitbull and he closed the show. So, sorry AJ if my thought gave you any motivation because it traveled back in time and you somehow caught it. Cool. Well, then that was your motivation. Thanks, dude. I'll take a share of that million for me. Just 10% is good. I'm not greedy or anything, guys. Just 10%, give me enough to pay off some bills here. But great fight by AJ. Great job. He landed the first significant strike of the fight, and he pretty much made it so that he was the only. I think he was the only one to land a significant strike. I don't think Pitbull really landed anything significantly on him. So AJ landed the significant strike. He made it count. Didn't let Pitbull get back in the fight, and he closed the show out. I'm sure this is disappointing for Pitbull. Both guys were going. Both guys were jawing back and forth with each other. I think Pitbull said something about AJ's father at some point. I didn't hear all the trash talk. I didn't really pay attention to all the trash talk. But from what AJ was saying at the press conference, Pitbull said something about his dad at one point, and AJ turned around and I think it was AJ turned around and said something about Pitbull's wife and kids. If that occurred, I'm not saying that it did because obviously I have not seen the either man make statements about the other man's family, or I haven't seen it written out that way. If that did occur, both guys kind of crossed the line there. I don't think family should ever be brought in this. If you're going to talk crap about a guy, if you're going to talk smack about a guy, talk about him. Talk about his fights. Talk about how much, you dislike how he fights. You think, this portion of his game sucks and you can beat him there. And, do all that. Leave the other fighter's family out of it. That's crossing a line. It's something that, is a big discussion right now with it because some other people in the sport are also doing it. And I think that crosses a line. Family, religion, all that kind of stuff. Keep it out of there. Keep it on the fight, guys. If you want to say something about that man personally, because you think that man personally is terrible, I'm okay with that too. Family and everything stays out of it. So if both guys did that, I think they both crossed the line, and I think they both came in fired up to try to get this done. AJ was just the man to do it. I'm sure it's disappointing for Pitbull. Like I said, they were jawing back and forth. Pitbull, he never really got a chance to get going. He was never really given a chance to get going after he got dropped because McKee kind of closed the show so quick. But, I'm sure he's going to have some type of medical suspension for that. They called it a technical submission win because he never actually tapped. AJ McKee actually choked him unconscious, so they called it a technical submission win. So I'm sure after this, he'll have some type of medical suspension. It's not uncommon for boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, MMA, any combat sport. You're 99.99999 times out of 100. Both guys are going to have some type of medical suspension. Doesn't mean that it lasts the entire time. They'll say, all right, you can't have hard sparring for 180 days, or you can't have it for 90 days or whatever. And most of the time they go back, and I'd be surprised if they served a month of it. And then they go to their doctor clears them, and the UFC is like, all right, and the UFC and the state athletic commission, whatever state it was, is like, all right, cool, we're good then. So I'm sure Pitbull will have some type of medical suspension there. I honestly don't believe it should be a very long one. But we'll see. That's up to the athletic commissions there. And I hope, and I'm certain that we'll see him in there against another top level guy, another high level guy, as soon as he's healthy and ready. So hope nothing but the best, speedy recoveries for Pitbull and TJ Dillashaw there. I hope, Uriah Hall, Sean Strickland, AJ McKee, Corey Sandhagen, any ailments that they have after a fight, because every fighter does. I hope those heal up quickly and they're able to get back into training and everything. And I'm kind of excited to see what happens with all 6 of these guys. It's going to be interesting to see how they all stack up in their next fights there. So that's the show, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Head on over to Instagram. The handle is at One More Round Rob. On Facebook, it's One More Round with Rob. So head over, like, and follow those pages. Shoot me a message if you have if you know of a card that's coming up that you want me to check out. Obviously here, like, share, and subscribe. You can't review on YouTube, but drop a comment, spread the word, that kind of thing, guys. This is episode 27, guys. We're kind of cranking them out here. It's good. It's exciting. Should have more weekly episodes for you guys now that things are going to summer's kind of winding down to the end, so we should be able to get you guys some more episodes more consistently. But until next time, guys, stay happy, healthy, and safe, and congratulations. You just went one more round with Rob. Have a good one, guys. We'll see you next time.